of public speaking and tidal waves. Those are my two greatest heroes. I think the reason why the collaboration worked so well is that I was the only composer's phone number he had in his cell phone. And he had others, but kept losing his phone, lost them, but remembered my number. I'm not really sure, actually, why he kept calling back.
But you do have some, you and Tim have some probably similar maybe obsessions or interests that have kind of allowed you to communicate over the years, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when we first met, I was, obviously, a lot of people, I guess, know that I was in a rock band at the time. To make a long story short, I actually hadn't considered scoring films. So I got a call that this young kid was doing a Pee Wee Herman movie, and I knew Pee Wee was. I'd seen his shows. I'd actually seen Pee Wee since he started the character when he was at a troupe called the Groundlings. So I was already a fan of his, and so I decided to take the meeting, but the first thing I said to him was, "Why me?" And when we started talking, it was pretty obvious that we had a lot in common. We both grew up in Los Angeles. We both grew up on horror films. Literally, I mean, I feel like I was raised at my local movie theater, and I saw 2 science fiction, fantasy, sometimes adventure, and horror films every weekend, pretty much of my entire childhood. So we'd seen all the same films, and we talked about our love for Bernard Herrmann, of which I was a fan since I was 11. And when I saw The Day the Earth Stood Still and recognized that there was actually a name associated with music, which had never occurred to me before. And so we just kind of hit it off. I mean, I think we were both kind of weird kids growing up in kind of LA suburbia, and a lot of the same kind of, his idol was Vincent Price, and mine was Peter Lorre. That kind of went on to define our relationship for the next quarter century. The tortured and the torturer.
So it's unfortunate you have nothing in common with this audience. What would you say was the toughest project so far? I'm sure like every new one is probably the biggest challenge to you, but you know, over these 13 films, what was the one that you remember as being just kind of mind-blowingly tough to do?
Well, that's an easy one. By far, the toughest thing I've ever done in my life was the first Batman. And the reason being, thank you, I'd never done a big score, I'd never used a big orchestra. The studio didn't want me on the movie, and the producer definitely didn't want me on the movie. And so to be kind of the up-and-coming kid who's done nothing but quirky comedies, with nobody but a director that did not yet have any power wanting you on the movie. Things don't get tougher than that. I had to prove myself over and over. There was a point in the movie in the process where the director wanted Michael Jackson to write the Batman theme, Prince to write the Joker's theme, and George Michaels to write the Love theme. I asked him what my position in the movie would be, and he replied, "I'd be the captain of the ship." And unfortunately, I've never had a love of sailing, or even boats in general, so it put me in an awkward position, and I had to battle it out. I had to actually leave the production for a while they explored doing the score with another artist, and eventually I knew that if I was going to do it, I was going to do it only if I could do it myself. And that was the single toughest decision I ever had to make, because I think for a while I felt like I'd blown the biggest opportunity of my life. But in the end, that other experiment didn't work. I got called back on, and when I was playing what became the main title cue as a demo for the producer, who was still unconvinced, he leapt out of his seat, this is John Peters, and started conducting. And Tim looked at me, and I looked at Tim, and from that moment I knew we were home free, and everything was okay.
The sad part about that story is we missed out on that incredible second score that we could have. It's really tragic. What would you say, what's this project that you've done with Tim Burton that's kind of given you the most good feelings over the years, that was the most fulfilling and rewarding?
You know, I've been asked that. It's really hard. Excuse me. I happen to have a cold today. But, I know. It's great. I don't have to sing every day. It's like almost a luxury getting a cold now. No canceled shows. It's nice. I could just talk in a voice, which I actually like better than my voice anyhow. I feel like an FM DJ. That last cut was by the Eagles, 1972. It's hard to say there was a single project because there are parts of all of his films which I've loved working on very deeply. Probably, if I had to pick a favorite child, which is kind of impossible to do, maybe I'd have to say Edward Scissorhands, because that was a movie that was small and nobody was interfering with us at all. It seemed to be way off the radar, and it was also a movie, and probably Nightmare Before Christmas, those two. Doing Nightmare was also very special because, again, there was nobody looking over us and we didn't know how to start. So both those movies, it felt like going in complete blackness and feeling for where to go. And Edward, I actually thought I was screwing up the movie by doing music that didn't fit at all until it was over. So that felt good that it ended up coming out okay. And in Nightmare, it was the most fun because we had no script. And Tim had all these great drawings. So we said, well, let's start writing songs. And he came over about every 3 days for a month. Because I wrote all the songs in 30 days with Tim. And he would come over and he'd tell me part of the story. And I said, just tell me the story like you're talking to a nephew or a niece. And he'd tell me part of the story. And I'd start to get an idea. And he had some lyrics sketched out, lines that he liked. And I'd go, okay, leave. 3 days later, come back and I'd play him the song. Go, oh, great. I said, well, what happens now? And he'd tell me, well, now Jack's going to wander out in the forest, and he comes across the tree, and he gets sucked down, and he sees, oh, wait a minute, I got it. Okay, come back in 3 days. And he just did it like this, and he would just tell me enough of the story that I'd get an idea for the song, and I'd just, it was that quick and easy. So I don't think anything I've done before or since has ever been that kind of easy and seamless and kind of organic in a weird way. So certainly Alice wasn't that easy. So that was the simplest thing I've ever done with him.
What I love about Nightmare Before Christmas is you're actually, in a weird way, the star of that movie. It's like if you made a movie and Bernard Herrmann, would play the starring role in the movie, that would be an interesting project in itself.
Well, you don't know that Bernard Herrmann could really sing.
He could really sing.
So it might have been really great if he had, but so it wasn't.